Welcome, everybody, to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me always is, sort of, with me anyway, is my hetero life mate, Rico. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm always with you, whether you see me or not, buddy.
That's a lot creepier than I think you meant it to be.
Pretty sure he meant it to be that creepy.
Probably. And that voice you hear is the infamous Arlynn Lake that you've heard us talk about so much.
I'm infamous.
You are infamous. That is for certain.
She is the reason why every time I fucking wake up and I see my Twitter feed is like 100 plus, I'm like, oh, Arlynn's awake.
Basically.
You know what? I like to keep you all informed, keep you in the loop on
and confused.
anything.
Confused is a state that I would describe most of trying to sort through the threads of...
How else are you supposed to see all the cat gifs and writer memes
and
completely
jetpacks.
Unrelated spin-off topics?
And jetpack pictures.
I had no
And
idea there were that
jetpack
many
is-
writers in the world until you entered our lives.
Yes.
You know,
I would agree.
it was a rabbit hole. Welcome to Narnia.
I
like that
just
one.
saw all three of those movies for the first time, actually.
Oh, Narnia?
I had seen the first one, and I had never seen the other two. The third one was, like, really not great.
You know, it wasn't that emotionally moving. Like, there wasn't anything really wrong with it. It just kind of lacked that, like, awesomeness that the first one had.
The CGI just looked really fucking direct to DVD.
Yeah. Okay, that I get what you mean. Yeah, it did. It also didn't have a huge fan following, so...
I am so
It looked
outside
like a
the
fucking
conversation.
TV movie.
Yeah.
I am
But we're
so-
not here to talk about the Chronicles of fucking Narnia. We're here to talk about a wonderful, if not egotistical, detective. And
Yes.
we have scourged the world for a expert who has expertise as us. We haven't found one, but so we settled on Arlynn. So,
Or
Right.
at least somebody
Arlynn's gonna-
willing to spend enough time with us to talk about it.
so we'll be talking about the movies. We'll be talking about the shows. We'll be talking a little bit about the literary source, and I think Arlynn knows more about the literary source more than me and CJ. But we will at least try to hold our own. So what we're trying to say is we're going to talk about Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
There
no.
you go.
So Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, no. All kidding aside, Arlynn being a writer herself and a fan of different authors, and we've seen this through the threads, as much as we joke about it, there's been some clarity, and we do know that her and her friends, as Rico mentioned, I honestly have to agree with him. I know he was kind of making a joke, but I really did not know there were that many writers, especially in the Twitterverse, until we came across you. So,
Tis a rabbit hole, like I said.
it is. And then from that
Stumbled
rabbit
across-
hole... What's that, Rico?
I said stumbled across her, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how we connected. I think Jersey was the mutual.
I do, yeah.
Connection.
It was you and me
And
and
it
the
spiraled
Jersey
from there.
thing. Yeah. And then Rico just... Actually, ironically, if I recall, the night you and I stumbled across each other was the night Rico joined Twitter. Like, he joined as we were conversing.
I think that's what it was. Yes, and you were like, "Hey, my buddy needs followers," and I was like, "I got you, boo."
Yeah,
And
basically.
then,
and now we have 800 notifications a day. So
There you
anyway, back to the point. From that, you being a writer, and then conversations we had somehow, and I don't remember. So Arlynn, if you recall, please jump in here. But Sherlock came up in the thread somewhere. Like someone brought him up. I don't even know if it was either one of us, but somebody brought him up.
like
I think it might have been me, actually. I think I might have made a Sherlock Holmes joke or something.
that may have been. I have a slight obsession with all things Sherlock Holmes. I say slight with quote marks because I don't mean slight at all. But
Because everything is quote marks because you're a writer. Everything is in quote marks.
that's true. That's true because that way you can't say it's plagiarism if I'm admitting it wasn't my words. But no, yeah. Well, Anne at Brains and Socks on Twitter, she came to me with the idea of actually starting like a fan page. So we have one. She's a lot better at moderating that page than I am. Because I have my hands in about 85 different pots right now, obviously with retreat coming up. But
which I want you to plug before it's over. So remind me to when we're getting towards the end here to let you do that because I think it's a very cool thing that you've organized, and we'll get to that later on.
That's good.
And by the way, her and I had a very nice conversation. I told her we were recording this episode today, and so we had our own little mini non-recorded version of the episode last night, which was fun to talk about. So she's very excited about this one. She actually has contacted me like twice today. Like, did you guys start recording yet? I can't wait to hear this thing. She's also a little upset that she can't hear it live, but it's what it is because she thought it was like a streaming feature or something.
Oh,
she should be fucking grateful that no one can hear this live.
I would agree. I would agree if, and we've said this before, so there's no secret. But if people knew how much editing I do on a regular episode, yeah,
they would comfort you as much as possible. By the way, am I the only one who thinks that Anne has the exact same haircut as Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock?
She did that when she did the one song for my karaoke challenge, and she dressed like Sherlock, and she did her hair like Sherlock. For me, guys, that was for me because she knows of my obsession. She doesn't always have that hairstyle.
Okay, fair enough.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about how we were each introduced to the character of Sherlock or a Sherlock Holmes theme, or whether it was a story or whether it was a movie or a show. So, Arlynn, since you are our Sherlock expert, why don't you start?
And our guest. Usually you let the guests go first.
All right. We can either reason is fine by me. I was reading before I could walk. Funny story. So my parents would give me things to read that were far beyond what somebody of that age should read. So I did read a lot of Doyle when I was younger. First one I think I probably read was A Study in Scarlet, Hounds of Baskervilles, which I actually did not like the first time I read it. I thought it was boring. So those are the two that stand out the most. And then Stephen King released his book of short stories, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And in there he has his own Sherlock Holmes locked room mystery, which I absolutely loved.
I've yet to read that. I need to read that. I've been wanting to.
I had told you about that, I think, a couple months ago. But it was really well done. It doesn't seem like a Stephen King story. It actually seems like a legit canon Holmes story. One of
the better fan fictions I've ever read.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they remake Sherlock Holmes, or they do different versions of it constantly. You can see them on BBC, different actors, stage productions all over the place. So it's hard not to be exposed to it. Of course, I've seen every episode of BBC's Sherlock, the one that's just called Sherlock, and all of
which we're going to talk about because I just binged that over the last 10 days to get ready for this, and holy fuck is really the only words I have to describe that.
Yeah, especially the final problem, which I actually, like, a couple former students of mine messaged me, and they're like, why did you not warn us that, like, mind blown with the last one? I'm like, it's not really based on Final Problem, the book, all that much. That's why. It's like, I didn't know until I watched it. But. Right
before we called you, Rico and I were just taking care of some business, and we were discussing, because he knows that I've been binging this, and one of the things he was saying to me is like, dude, when you get to that last episode on the 4th season, just be prepared. And even though he gave me that warning, it wasn't enough. Like, I watched that shit and was like, what the fuck? Like, I remember
when you find it, like, everything you've known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I specifically told you, I said, when you get to the 2nd episode of the 4th season, you're going to fucking be like, what the fuck is going on? Because, all right, first off, we gotta talk a little. There's gonna be some spoilers. If you are not caught up on Sherlock, we may spoil a big reveal for the season 4. I mean, it's been out for a year, but still.
Sherlock, Elementary, and the movies. Spoilers on all of them because we're diving in. So be prepared.
So when we say movies, are we talking all movies, or are we talking Robert Downey Jr.?
I can't speak for Rico, but my knowledge-based movie-wise is kind of limited to those two. But I'm all for discussing whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, just a broad spectrum.
Sounds good. Then, one, I don't know if I've talked to you guys much about this. I've spoken with Eric, aka Ginger Man, about the great detective archetype. That when I say I developed, I don't mean I came up with the character. I just mean that I identified the archetype, using Sherlock Holmes as a basis to develop a character. And if like there's a rabbit hole, if you want a rabbit hole, as soon as you realize that archetype, you'll see it everywhere. When you're looking for a socially awkward genius who has a quirk that keeps him outside of the normal realm of performing his duties, but that same quirk is what makes him exceptional at what he does.
Yeah.
As soon as you identify that, you'll see it everywhere. Psych is a great detective genre. House.
Oh yeah,
The
House.
Good Doctor.
Yeah.
Monk.
Yeah.
Monk. Yep.
I would say House more than Good Doctor, but I do see the connection. But House is certainly
Well, House is based on Sherlock Holmes.
right.
I mean, even the name House and Holmes are similar to each other.
Right.
Not to mention, what's his fucking friend's name?
Wilson.
Instead of John,
Yeah.
instead of John Watson, it's James Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think even House has the same address. It's like 221 something.
I don't know if
221
they ever
Baker.
announced his. I don't think they ever said his address. But speaking of address connections, real quick, Rico, and because we have to keep our record intact of at least bringing up Marvel once per episode. I think the
I just saw Ant-Man yesterday, so I'm all Marvel.
Nice. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I think that the New York house for Doctor Strange is really close to the address for Sherlock. It's not exact, but it's like 18B Bleecker. Like it's
It's Bleecker.
I caught
not
that. Yeah, they mentioned that in Infinity War. They don't mention it, I think, in the Doctor Strange movie. They mention it in Infinity War.
No, they
'Cause
do.
I remember seeing
Yeah.
that.
It's in both. You're right. You're right about Infinity War, absolutely. But they also do bring it up in. They don't talk about it, but they do a outside pan shot, and you can see like the nameplate on the wall of the building. And if you've noticed that kind of stuff, like I do,
if you're looking for it,
yeah. So
when I saw Infinity War and it said Bleecker Street, I grabbed my friend Michael because I completely forgot that it's not Baker Street. I'm like, oh my god! Oh wait, no, that's not right.
No, I'm with you, Rico, because I thought the same thing at first, and then I had to sit back and, like you said, take a minute and go, wait, no, it's Baker, but it's fucking close. And I'd be curious. They never say where the one in London is, but I'd like to know what that address is, because I'm very, very curious to see how close it is to Baker Street. So.
it's intentional. You know, it's intentional.
Oh, totally. And it makes it even...
All right, your two most famous roles are fucking Sherlock and Doctor Strange. So we're just going to constantly tie them in together.
Right,
Well,
which, by the way, Rico, why don't... Arlynn, I don't know if you heard our Infinity War episode, but why don't you quickly tell her what they were going to do, and you said they even shot it for the Infinity War, and it just never made the movie. Do you remember? With him and RDJ?
You got to be more specific, buddy.
About the... Well, I'll tell it, and then if I'm missing a piece, how about you fill in the pieces? So...
Okay.
Apparently, they actually had a scene because RDJ and
Benedict Cumberbatch
share a lot of screen time together in that movie, and so at one point they apparently shot a scene where somebody else says "No shit, Sherlock," and the two of them just pause and look at each other and then move on. But it never made the movie.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray DVD comes out in 2 weeks, so I'm very excited to see if maybe that's like a deleted scene or something. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
The Russo brothers, I think, had talked about how they were fully aware of what the fans wanted, and they're fully aware of memes, and they're fully aware of movie fights, as well as like what's that one? Honest Trailers.
Oh,
like the Russo brothers have both been on Honest Trailers for like Captain America: Winter Soldier, and they said their goal for Winter Soldier was to make a movie that could not be spoofed on Honest Trailer. Like that was their goal before they even started production.
Right.
And so they said, all right, let's film it. Let's see how it flows. And they're like, it's too campy. It's too on the nose. it doesn't flow well with this really fucking depressing movie that we're going to put out. So I think they just said, fuck it. The fans, we're just going to have to tell the fans to go fuck themselves one time.
Right. Well, that's fair. And like I said, if it's a scene that made the cutting room floor but makes the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, I'll be happy with that. So that'll be good enough.
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, totally. Or even the gag reel. Like that really could make either the deleted scenes or the gag reel. Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they should do is have, knowing that Martin Freeman is already part of the Marvel cast, is have Jude Law just kind of walk by, be in the middle of a scene where all the other three are in it.
That would be amazing.
Well, Jude Law is now in the MCU. He's in Captain Marvel.
Is he?
Oh, he is? I did not know that.
Yeah, he's going to play Marvel. So he's going to be the original Captain Marvel, who is probably my theory is he's going to tutor Brie Larson's Captain Marvel and then probably be like revealed as a villain. They're probably going to fucking ironmonger him.
Okay.
Although, talking about Jude Law, did you guys see the fucking Fantastic Beasts 2 trailer that just spawned yesterday? Holy shit.
I'm very much looking forward to that. That looks insane.
CJ, you are missing the fuck out, because I'm like, I had no idea that I would actually be like how much I would appreciate Jude Law being a young Dumbledore.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, that's actually what's got me excited about this one. I mean, because I didn't see the one you're talking about that came out, I guess, yesterday, I think I heard you say, but I saw the first trailer, and I saw he was being the young Dumbledore, because it showed it there, too. So that actually does have me excited for the movie. But I want to get us back to Sherlock here, and
well, I had a little question, tying with both Sherlock and Harry Potter. Do you think Sherlock Holmes went to Hogwarts?
No.
No.
But he could have.
He's a man of science,
True.
With no belief in the spiritual realm whatsoever, so no.
Yeah, I gotta be with Arlynn on this one. I think that's where he would stand on that divide.
I agree, but I also think Sir Arthur Conan Doyle could have gone to Hogwarts, because he was a big believer in fairies. Did you guys know about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can see.
100% believe pixies. And then, because these two little girls had made wooden cutouts of pixies or something, and took a photo from way back when. And he saw the photo, and it's like, oh my god, pixies are fucking real. Wrote a whole article about it, and then he went years later to go see it, and the girls were grown women, and they're like, okay, we made this up. And even still, he was like, no, fucking pixies are real. You're full of shit.
I know what I know.
There you go.
I love your impression of him. It's like a real American Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I know what I know.
He's not following his own advice. When you eliminate the impossible, whatever's left. He won't follow his own advice with that one.
That's true. Can't argue with that. So, and that actually leads me to a couple of things I want to do real quick before, because Rico, you had asked about us each getting into our introductions of the character and whatnot, and I agree that's the way to go, but I want to just give the audience a little bit of information about Arthur Conan Doyle and the character real quick. The first printed Sherlock Holmes story was in 1887, and it's The Study in Scarlet, which, if I heard you say, Arlynn, was the first one you read. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. You read the first story, because I'm not even sure that I've read that one personally.
Yeah.
The OG.
Yeah, the OG. And so there's that. I'm not going to go through everything, but because some of it we'll just get to in conversation. But one piece of information I'm seeing here is that the character is in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most portrayed movie character in history.
Yep.
I
So
believe that.
Yeah, he's and I wanted to touch on the staying power of the character just some point anyway, because I mean he started in 1887, so we're talking 231 years ago. Or no.
Well, it's as I had said, well, because I mean, and you're just talking about the literal translation of the character.
Yes.
The actual portrayal of the character, not including everybody would fall as a sub under the archetype. And that I think is where the staying power came, is that, Doyle came up with this archetypal character, and it was something so intriguing to watch. that it was other archetypes would include like Cinderella, which Harry Potter falls under the Cinderella archetype. The rags to riches, heart of gold is what saves you kind of thing. When we see these things pop out, like the first time that we see them, it's so intriguing. It's so, magical to see, that even seeing it in all these other different places where you would identify it, it's still just as magical. You're just changing the setting, but that heart, that character is still there.
And you being a writer, Arlynn, I actually would like to ask you this question because I think you're the most, adept to answer this for me. But as he was writing this, do you think he was intending to create this archetype that would spawn off not only all these different versions of his character, but then these other things that we were just referring to, like your house and these other things? Or was he just writing a story and it's just turned into this archetype?
I think there was a little bit of both because Doyle was the first person to come up with the concept of a consulting detective, which is something we actually use in real life now. We have people who are, profiles, psychological analysts, mathematicians who come in and consult on these cases. This was unheard of before that had happened. So when he created this character, I do think that, part of it, I think, was he wanted to make an interesting story. He is the father of forensic science when you look at it that way, analyzing for clues, and that sort of thing. Forensics before that was nothing. It was whatever they wanted it to be. But, using science, using the art of deduction and induction, since it's not usually deduction in that case, but that's a different topic. So I think that, yes, he set out to change law enforcement in a way. I don't think he intended for it to spiral into the creation of a new literary archetype, though.
That's fair. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I would also add that he not only did he make an amazing archetype hero, he also made an archetype villain. Moriarty is instrumental in every villain we've had since. Yeah. He is equal, if not greater than the hero. He is just intelligent. The shadowy, pun intended, the shadowy figure that mirrors Sherlock. Just a little bit of he's the other side of a really fucked up coin.
Well, and here's the funny thing about that is when you read the original Sherlock stories, Moriarty did not play a huge role in Sherlock's life. However, when people read that character and they saw it as, as the foil, as the antithesis, the opposite of Sherlock, once again, socially awkward genius, but the flip side of it, instead of using those insane, above human skills, superhuman skills to serve people, using it to be completely self-serving and cause chaos. I think people seeing that and enjoying seeing that sort of like entanglement with the dark side, the fascination is what made Moriarty bigger than he was. But if you look back, he's not really in all that many books.
Well, I would liken him to being like the Emperor in Star Wars and taking on the Vader role. Well, the Emperor is the ultimate big bad, but Vader is the one you see the majority of the time.
Right, yeah.
And that's the other thing, too. Like, and I know we're jumping around, but that's kind of what we wanted to do, so I'm happy about that. But, like, going back to that Sherlock show, the BBC show, he really is only in, 3 episodes, and he's only referenced, like, in 6. Now, granted, there's only 12 episodes to the entire series so far, and so that does put him in half, but I would argue half of that half is really just like a fleeting reference. It's not really where he's a focal character of that particular episode.
Because he's dead at one point.
Well, yeah. But
ish. Without giving away too many spoilers, I'm not sure how deep we want to go into it.
Oh, but we're spoiling the shit out of it. Like if
gotcha. Yeah, Moriarty wasn't Moriarty. I mean, if you've seen the Final Problem.
You don't think so? See, I'm not. I just think that was a different twist on the overall flow of the character's rogues gallery, to use a comic book term. But I think Moriarty was still Moriarty. There was just this additional villain or anti-hero, really, that was pulling the strings. And Yeah, but I think Moriarty would have been more, because, all right, so I'm going to reference something specifically from that Final Problem episode. When she gets her 5-minute conversation with him, he still seems like Moriarty before he ever talked to her. So yes, she's pulling strings, but he's still Moriarty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's...
Yes, well, because he had a high level of intelligence, you know, and just by his resume, literal resume, which they actually do discuss, you know, that you can see he has a high level of intelligence. Obviously, he's got something a little wrong with him, sociopathic, psychopathic. That's for, you know, my therapist husband to determine, which is, something we discuss ad nauseum. But the motivations were not his own. His desire was simply to cause chaos. However, the enchantment he had with Sherlock was not his own enchantment. It was Sherlock's sister's enchantment.
Do you think so? You don't think he would have been intrigued by him anyway?
He was on assignment. He was just happy to serve that assignment because he was a psychopath.
Okay,
I think there's more to it because I believe in this Moriarty has a lot of gay undertones, and I believe there's a lot of gay subtext between this Moriarty and Sherlock.
Yes.
Not to mention the actor playing him is homosexual, but like it almost came off the impression that this Moriarty is not only in love with Sherlock, but he is also obsessed and trying to destroy him, as well as having an assignment. It all just kind of clicked together, but there is a lot of subtext.
Right, and that's where I was coming in, that I don't think it's completely his sister. I think she has a big role in it, but I think to Rico's point, he would have been that obsessed with him regardless. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I do think, you know, it could have gotten there. However, I don't think he was had him in his sights until he was set that way by Sherlock's sister.
That's possible.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it like you said, there's that like intense obsession with Sherlock, and I do think that was his own, but I just don't think he was in his sights until he got set that way. And I think that you know, the character of Moriarty in the Elementary series is completely different.
Oh, and I need to talk about that. Yeah, so by all means, but that you're right.
Bear in mind, I have not caught up on that Elementary, so CJ more or less has kind of spoiled that for me. That, you know,
I'm sorry, Rico, but we can't.
Is Moriarty.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but we can't not talk about that. That would just be a disservice.
No, it's fine. I mean, just don't ruin any other good episodes. Just
we can talk about Moriarty without ruining any of the new stuff, because the new stuff is completely off canon. It's, you know, she's not really a part of that. But you know,
how caught up are you? Because the last episode, she's kind of a part of it.
I saw up to, actually, I only saw, I think, 1 or 2 of the brand new ones.
Okay, so I think it's already 6 or 7 deep. So
okay,
I won't ruin anything directly, but she is making a comeback. I'll leave it at that. So
yeah,
I'm just gonna, like, divert my attention to like something else while you guys talk about this. I'm just gonna be floating off and not
I'm gonna leave it there. But so let's talk about Elementary for a minute. Elementary is definitely a really different spin on the whole character world, being that it's set in America. Number 2, John Watson is now Joan Watson. And,
right, gender bending all over the place. Yep.
Right, totally all over the place. But I like that twist. That's what drew me to want to see it in the first place, because I wanted to see how that played out. It had 2 possible outcomes. It could have been really good, which I think it is, or it could have been a complete fucking disaster. And it wasn't. So I will take what we're getting out of this. And I do like Lucy Liu and as Joan Watson. I think that's a good way to go about it. I will be honest, until I watched Elementary and then subsequently have watched Sherlock, I don't think I realized how much of a substance problem Sherlock had. Like, I knew I knew he was prone to experimenting with things, but I didn't know that it was to the level that it seems to be.
Right, and that's canon. That's from the literature.
Right.
Right. Him being an addict was definitely part of it. A lot of the adaptations do kind of they overlook that, or they make it minor. or instead of heroin or morphine, it's something softer. But they do with Elementary. They do make that a big point. What I do. As far as Elementary, though, what I do want to say, though, is that, as you mentioned, it's a different world. It's a different country. Everybody in it is different. However, Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock Holmes, he plays it as the iconic Sherlock.
Yeah.
It's just a different world. It is still the same Sherlock. If you look at the way he plays it and the way Benedict Cumberbatch plays it, and even the way Robert Downey Jr. plays it, you see the similarities. The character is still the character. Everything else is different.
Yeah.
And look, because this keeps coming back into my head, and I know right off the bat that it's not Holmes, but House is too close to not include in this conversation, I think.
I agree.
Because even to the point of it being an addict, House was a Vicodin addict. I mean, it's just too much. Like, it's probably a bad way to put this, but House is like the stepbrother of all the other Holmes canon stuff. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Like, but it fits, and it fits better than any other character from that archetype that you mentioned, Arlynn. Like, I agree. There is this archetype out there that sometimes touches the Holmes world. Like, it hits the edge of the Holmes world, but it doesn't fully dive in. And then you got House, which is basically Holmes as a doctor. You know what I mean? I mean, the only way you make
Moriarty in House.
That's a good question.
It's different depending upon the season.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think his the closest to Moriarty you would get would be, and I can't remember the character's name, but the man who bought the hospital and was in charge of him and I think tried to destroy him.
Yeah, and the actor's Kai McBride. I can't think of the character's name either. I agree with you, but no, I will do you one better. I think the closest to Moriarty was, and I can tell you what season it was. It was season 3, and he, when House would do those clinical minutes that he had to do, he was usually a pretty big jerk off to whoever he had to deal with.
Right.
And one of them was a cop. And because the cop gave him shit, he gave him an anal thermometer to take his temperature. And that cop made his life a living hell for the next, 18 months. That is the closest Moriarty I think we've ever had in that series. But you're right, Arlynn. It really does change from... Sometimes it's multiple seasons, because I think that cop thing ran over 2 seasons, to be fair. But...
Yeah. I think both those characters did. The owner of the hospital eventually was gone in the cop. But if you look at the final series, sorry, my house just got invaded with children who are going to go play downstairs now. If you look at the final episodes and consider them sort of House's version of the final problem, and you can see a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
In that case, the enemy of House was House.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sherlock truly is his own enemy, always has been. So,
yes.
I would go further. I have another metaphor. Another metaphor, Moriarty. It can either be his leg, which holds him back.
True.
Yeah.
Or it could be every episode's disease or ailment that he has to conquer and figure out.
I would disagree with that, because one of the huge things in order for it to fit into the great detective archetype is the puzzle. Solving the puzzle is what keeps Sherlock alive. And in fact, CJ will know this better. Looking at the current season of Elementary, one of the things he keeps saying is, if anything goes wrong with his head and he can't do this, he can't solve crimes, he is going to relapse, because that is the only thing that keeps him alive, is the puzzle and being able to be the person who solves it.
Right, and Rico, we're not ruining anything for you, but at one point he develops a post-concussive syndrome, and it prevents him from being Sherlock to the full length that he can be himself. And
decreases his abilities for a while.
Right,
yeah.
And you see what that...
Mycroft must be thrilled.
Well... No, because, and I won't tell you why, but Mycroft does not play as big of a role in this series as he does in every other incarnation that I've seen. Mycroft is really an ancillary character.
A guest star.
Yeah.
Right. The Mycroft in the Elementary series is more his father His father is a big role in this series.
And he's more frequent than actual Mycroft, and plays the same role. You know, the caretaker, the love-hate relationship, the I'll do anything for you, but at the same time I might murder you in your sleep, and you'll never know one day to the next which one it's going to be.
See, that was the linchpin where Steph got me. She wanted me to watch Elementary anyways because she knows I like Sherlock Holmes, but she was like, "You've got to watch it for the actor who plays his dad." And she was like, he's from. She wants to show me the show Fringe as well, and we rented it from work. And then my boss said, "Hey, I need you to return that. Someone's asking for it." I'm like, "Motherfucker, I only had it 2 days."
And down. Sleepy Hollow. He was in Sleepy Hollow as well.
Yeah, and he's also
that same actor, the one who plays Sherlock's dad. He was in Fringe and he was in Sleepy Hollow.
The show Sleepy Hollow or the movie Sleepy Hollow? The
TV show.
Oh, I haven't seen the TV show, so
okay.
Did you? So did Steph tell you who it is, or did you see who it is, or no?
Well, I actually had known of this actor because I had seen little bits of it, but he voices the Scarecrow in the Batman Arkham Knight game.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's in Lord of the Rings. He's in the Return of the King.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's a devilish fucking actor. Jesus.
Yes, he is, but he's really good. And honestly, Rico. Steph's right, not to go off on a tangent, but you would like him in Fringe, so you do need to get the chance to watch that when you can. You would like it.
Well, as soon as she comes back into town, and my boss is never mind.
It's a shame you guys. It's a shame you guys don't. We don't live closer together. We've said that before, but I have all the seasons. I would just lend them to you.
By the way, just going to throw it out there. Both Fringe and Sleepy Hollow fall under the great detective archetype. Continue.
Oh, totally. I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Ichabod Crane is definitely a not a carbon copy, but he's definitely been influenced by Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Although, the TV series, not the movie.
Well, the literary source, but which came out first? Do you guys know which came out first? Sleepy Hollow by Irving Berlin or
I'm on it. Give me a second.
I would, as he's looking it up, I would venture to say that Sherlock Holmes would come out first, just because Sleepy Hollow was an American story, I believe.
Yes. Well, Sleepy Hollow is in New York.
It keeps talking about the show. I'm trying to find the actual story, so bear with me here. Anyway, while I'm looking that up, we'll come back to it. But yeah, with Elementary. So Rico, this is the one part I am going to spoil for you. Moriarty is a woman in this.
No, I know. It's Stellar Dormer. I know that.
But here's the interesting thing, and Arlynn, I love this. When I heard this, they were in a relationship together for a while.
Yes.
Because
she's a combination of Irene Adler and
yes.
No, it's not even a combination. She introduced herself to him as Irene Adler. That's the name she gave him when they met.
What a diabolical bitch.
Oh, yes. You have no idea. You have no idea.
You guys are like setting me up with a major hard-on, and I haven't come yet. Like, I'll watch the fucking show. Calm down.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that I'm noticing about Elementary is that basically they're going to take everything that's considered canon for the Sherlock Holmes character and completely change it. So, like, when I say that Sherlock is the only thing that's original, that's from the original in that show, that is correct. Everything else is different. Including all of the characters that you see. So, whereas all of the other ones, Irene Adler is, she has her role in his life. She's a temptress. She's the only woman he's ever loved in the way that he can. But she's also an employee of Moriarty. And this one, totally different. Moriarty's a woman combined with Irene Adler. So once again, Sherlock is the only thing.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think they could be an adaptation where Sherlock is played by a female?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And there has been.
That I didn't know.
Which one?
Well, it wouldn't have been called Sherlock Holmes. I'm meaning more in like the Great Detective sense, not in
no.
literal
I think Rico's asking though if there could be a flat out Sherlock female or like a Cheryl. Actually, there was talk of something. Now that you bring it up, Rico. There was going to be a Holmes story where the Holmes was a female and they were changing the name to Cheryl. They were instead of Sherlock. They were gonna call her Cheryl, and it was gonna be short for Sherlock. Because I
could see that. I would say to not change the name if that's the case. But absolutely, the character of Sherlock Holmes is not at all dependent upon his gender.
No.
It's
It's dependent on ego.
Yeah, it's dependent on the content of his character.
So,
absolutely.
To our story answers, Sleepy Hollow was published in 1820, and as I mentioned earlier, the first Sherlock Holmes was 1787. So, Sleepy Hollow is after Holmes. What's that?
You said 1787 or 1887?
I think it was. Hold on, I got it right here. I got to switch screens.
It was 1887
earlier.
1877. I'm sorry, 1877. But either way, it's still
okay.
So 18. No, yeah. So Sleepy Hollow's first. Yeah, my fault.
So it's arguable that Ichabod Crane could have been an original inspiration.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, well, if you read Sleepy Hollow as opposed to watch the TV show or even the movie Sleepy Hollow, not even close. The character is not.
It's just a comical pop.
Yes, the what they've done with the character of Ichabod Crane is totally different from what the original story was. It's totally something different.
And even Johnny Depp's portrayal is kind of an amalgam of both of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of, he's foppish and cowardly, but he's also got a brilliant detective mind. And
right.
He deduces shit easily. So I don't know if that was, I mean, it was probably intended to be like, oh, well, we're going to take the comical aspects, but we're going to also give him the brilliance.
Right. So eventually he falls into the great detective archetype, but not in the beginning, not the original story.
Do you know what my first introduction was? Well, obviously you guys don't, but I'm trying to make it about me now.
What your first what was?
This is not about you. You think it's your show or something that it has to be about you?
We haven't talked about you guys. We talked about me.
This isn't Rico's Rants? I'm sorry. Shit.
No, this is not Rico's Rants.
Go ahead. I'm gonna eat my sour gummy snake while you talk. Go ahead.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah, it really did.
I've been waiting. My husband handed me this like 30 minutes ago. I've been waiting to eat it.
You're not helping. My husband handed me a sour gummy dirty snake. Like,
y'all don't know what goes on in the outskirts of this here rectangle, okay?
No, nor do we want to.
It's freaking me out. Okay, so actually, it was two things. It was young Sherlock Holmes. Oh my God, she's got cherries that look like testicles.
Just in case you wonder what else I'm going to eat.
Oh my God,
look infected. I'm sorry. They're not supposed to be red. They're supposed to be blue.
That's just wrong.
And green.
Okay, so my first introduction was two things. It was The Great Mouse Detective.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I won't drag the story out, but when I was about maybe 5 years old, I was with my mother's boyfriend at the time, but he and I still became close friends, even though he was substantially older. He's sort of another father figure, older brother type guy. I had seen a preview for The Great Mouse Detective on old Disney VHS tape, but I couldn't pronounce detective. So we went to a video store to rent a movie or to buy a movie, and it came out Tatata, The Great Mouse Tatata, which I just don't know how I couldn't pronounce it, but I was 5 or something. So he's asking me to go up to the clerk and be like, what movie do you want? I just kept saying The Great Mouse Tatata. And as a video store clerk, I would have been able to figure that out. I'm like, I would have typed in The Great Mouse. Okay, it's not the Tatata.
Right.
This poor clerk just either was just terrible at her fucking job or had never heard the fucking movie. So she's just like, I don't know, 1, what you're saying, 2, what you're looking for. So George, the guy I was with, was like, Rico, go find it. And I just knew where it was, even though I'd never been to this video store. Found it, and I just said, see, it's right here. You guys are fucking morons. And like, oh, that's The Great Mouse Detective. We're morons. So that was my first introduction to a Sherlock Holmes character. But then I saw young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And that is a fucking acid trip of a story as well as, because it's Spielberg produced, it's written by Chris Columbus, it's pretty faithful, but they're like saying, oh, what if, Watson and Sherlock had met when they were like in boarding school at 17 years old. Moriarty is the, instructor. And it had actually a really kind of interesting story because I just rewatched it for the first time in 20 years. And yeah, there's a lot of awfulness, but the actor who plays Sherlock is actually, for a younger interpretation, is actually substantially good. And it was directed by fucking Barry Levinson. Like it's all these big names, and like I'm like this was definitely not released in theaters. There's no, and I was like, oh my shit, it was.
Huh.
But so that was my first introduction to the Sherlock archetype or the Sherlock character. And weirdly enough, Pixar, that was the first film that Pixar had worked on.
Really?
Like they did animation for when Watson is like hallucinating and he's seeing like pastries attack him.
Huh.
And I don't know if you know this, but Arlynn, I live like a stone's throw away from Pixar Studios.
Oh, neat.
So I'm in the Bay Area. Like the Fenton's ice cream shop that's featured in Up is literally a block away from where I work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So to see like having Pixar and Sherlock and this weird fucking adaptation, kind of like I don't know, is like a big giant fucking Christmas present that I still occasionally open. I'm like, oh, look at that! It affected my life so much.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Like I remember it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it except that they were at boarding school. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Arlynn. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that now that you're talking about it, Rick. I just looked it up while you were talking. It does look interesting, but it did also bring up another movie, like it'll suggest other things, and it brought up one that I have no desire to see. So I'm hoping one of you saw it and can tell me it's better than it looks. But it was the one called Mr. Holmes, and it's Ian McKellen playing an older Holmes.
God.
And it looked so terrible.
Pieces of it, and it was very
boring.
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm not going to watch it.
He's a phenomenal actor, which makes it's hard for me to say that. But it was very much like like I said, I didn't see the whole thing. I saw pieces of it. But it was like, imagine if, your old cranky Uncle Grandpa, who's the one who always talks about the good old days and the kids need to get off his lawn. Like, imagine if he had been Sherlock and now he's that cranky old grandpa who sits around talking about how the kids need to get off his lawn.
Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this character that I love so much in that format, and that's what I was worried about with going back to Elementary real quick. That's really what I was worried about. Like, they could have, and I know I already said this, but I want to reiterate, they could have either been really good or really terrible. And thankfully, it wasn't.
I agree, especially because with the gender bending in that. Whenever they do that with a character, I always think, oh, great, we're pandering to a target group, to a target demographic. And then, when I actually saw Elementary, I was like, okay, this isn't just, pandering to a demographic. Like, it's written into the story to where it's not the focal point, but, it is part of the story, which sidetrack a little here. Another great detective, the Doctor Who. I have that same fear with now there being a female doctor. I have not yet seen any of the episodes, and I fear that will be a pandering to a target demographic. I realize I am that demographic. But I have that same fear. So we'll see, and hopefully it'll end up like Elementary and be phenomenal.
And by the way, whatever I did that paused everything for 30 seconds, I got Rico back. So victory. I can see both of you simultaneously now. So anyway, oh, baby. I love it when you do that eyebrow thing.
Yeah, but he doesn't have cherries and snakes to dangle in front of the camera.
Well, he does. I just don't want to see them.
This would be X-rated.
He does have them. I just don't want to see them. So
it's not that color.
Well,
I hope not.
They're brighter.
But they're not neon red and green.
So just kind of
they're dark purple.
Anyway,
they're black and blue.
God, editing is going to be a nightmare.
It's been a while.
There you go.
The one thing I'll just say about Elementary, and maybe not a final thought, because I'm sure we'll double back to it anyway, but the one thing I found really interesting, and it took me like maybe half the first season, if not the whole first season, to realize that Sherlock was the guy from Hackers.
Yes.
So,
Johnny Lee Miller. Yep.
Because he doesn't look or sound anything like the character from Elementary, like
Train Spotting.
I have only seen that once, but I'm sure he's there. So, anyway,
CJ, is this your obligatory time to tell me I still need to see fucking Hackers? You always integrate it.
No, it's only been like twice. Trust me, I do all the editing. I know. So
I think this is the third time.
Maybe third. I'll give you 3. It could be 3.
I mean, you could just see it and then he'll stop saying you need to see.
I mean, hey, I saw Almost Famous of CJ and Dustin's recommendation, and that was kind of a disappointment.
Well, that's because Dustin got you convinced that Kate Hudson was running around naked doing blow off somebody's dick, and you wanted to see that.
Well, who wouldn't want to fucking see that? Goldie Hawn would want to see that.
You're right. Okay.
Where did Goldie Hawn come into this?
Because that's
Goldie
her mom.
Hawn's
That's
her
Kate
mother.
Hudson's mom.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Anyway, back to Sherlock.
Sherlock would want to see that.
Of
Yeah,
course
right.
he'd want to see that.
No, he'd want to join her in the drug abuse, but otherwise he wouldn't care.
So let's jump over to, because we're gonna get to the movies, and I do want to get to RDJ's thing, but I still want to start with Sherlock the show. Yeah, I know that came out worse than I meant. Don't look at me like that way.
It's like hanging out with a bunch of 12-year-old boys. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what we are, basically.
Are you our babysitter?
Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? What do you think's going to happen at retreat? Are we going to sit around reading the Bible?
I wish we could make it to that. I really do. It's
You
a
guys
shame
have
we
to
can't.
join us virtually.
Oh, well, I'm in if Rico's in.
To read the Bible?
No, join the that retreat that Arlynn's doing in Chicago later this year, the writers' retreat. They're setting up a thing called Discord. It's an audio only, kind of like a Skype situation, so we could call in and kind of participate over the internet if we wanted to for a little bit.
Yes.
And then be rejected and never called back again.
Yeah, basically.
Have you seen the threads I participate in on Twitter? Do you really think I'm ruling out you guys?
Do you think it's possible for us to catch up, Arlynn?
No, I can't even catch up. As soon as I get to the bottom, my phone bounces up to the top. It's so frustrating.
Well, here's the interesting thing about I know we're deviating way off the topic for a minute, but they really and I know we're making a lot of jokes and it's been fun and I'm enjoying it. But one of the things that's really intriguing to me, and I was talking to Anna about this last night when we were chatting, we're the only non-writers, it feels like, in your group, and not only are we the only non-writers, but we've been really well accepted, I think. And I really find that intriguing that we've kind of, broken into this inner sanctum, if you will,
Yeah.
Well, I'd argue that I think I'm a writer, but I haven't published it.
Well, I mean, you
That's
guys
fair.
are, you may not be writers, but you're artists of the word in a different way.
Yeah.
That's why when I list things like, my Who's Who and my Monday Meet and all that stuff like that, where I mention that, what I promote are artists, writers, and podcasters. It's
But we're
art
the
in a
only
different
podcasters so far that I've noticed.
No, you're not the only podcasters. You're just the only podcasters who aren't also writers.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, because there's Ginger and his video thing that he does, which you did a very good job on, by the way.
Thank you.
Sure. So, but I want to get into Sherlock specifically because it's the freshest thing in my mind because I literally just finished the final problem last night. But it's also because
Is Rico on fire? Are you okay?
no, he was smoking and
Yeah.
So, when Rico and I were doing the Marvel / Infinity War episode that we recorded, because it ended up being like 3 hours. Are you all right there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to stop a laugh because I want you to keep talking.
Oh, just laugh. It's all right. Anyway, when we were doing that episode, Rico had asked me if I had seen Sherlock with no idea that we were even going to do an episode like this at some point. And asked me if I'd seen Sherlock. What's that?
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I planted the seed.
He did. And I had told him no. And for reasons that aren't worth getting into, at one point I was kind of boycotting the thing, but it's stupid and it's not worth talking about it. But anyway, and it was dumb on my part. But he said to me, he goes, you should watch it because if you like Doctor Strange, you will love Sherlock. So I said, all right, I'll have to give it a chance. And I had every intention of it, but it wasn't until we set up this episode that I was like, oh, well, now I have to because I want to be able to talk about it.
And then you done watched about 30 hours of Sherlock all on the weekend.
Well, yeah. It's almost like getting my fix. Like I needed more. But anyway,
I'm an enabler.
Yes, you
are. It was
are.
your heroin.
Yeah, but
I would argue that Irene Adler's the heroine.
but I'm bummed.
In a different way, except that the heroine helps him focus, and Irene Adler is his distraction, which is why when she pops into his head, he says, "Get out of my head."
So she's the come down.
Yes.
Anywho, so the
she's an anti-heroine.
The point was that it really is clear to me now that I think he being Benedict Cumberbatch got the role as Doctor Strange because of his portrayal of Sherlock, because they are very, very, very similar. And I was, like I said, when we were talking last night, the one thing I pointed out was that I feel like Arlynn, you saw Infinity War or no?
Yes.
Okay. So when he's on the planet and trying to figure out the different outcomes, when he's looking at
right, and he's like moving that ball in his hands.
Right.
Yeah.
It's identical to when Sherlock's in his mind palace.
Yep. Doing the yep.
It really was identical, and I had two thoughts when I saw that. One was either it's just really a cool way to link the two together, or two, Benedict Cumberbatch has no range because he has to do the same damn thing. But I'm leaning towards the first more than the second. But
well, I don't even know that the link was intentional.
Sure.
Because I mean, with Sherlock, the Mind Palace, that's a thing that is something that Doyle came up with. Describing the Mind Palace, which is a memory technique. And someone like me, who I always joke about how I have a memory like Dory, that's not a joke. I have such a horrible memory. So I use the Mind Palace technique to remember things that are important. And it does help. Like I've actually done it. I've taught it to students, preparing for tests, or, how to solve math problems, and especially complex math problems. But so with him doing the Mind Palace, that's him, going through and coming up, basically doing inductive reasoning in his head, and thinking of the possible outcomes. Robert Downey Jr. does the same thing. They show it in the movie when he's thinking about how could this fight go.
Yes. Which is one of my favorite parts of those movies when they do that with those scenes. So
yes, and that is him doing the Mind Palace.
Flips it on it.
Yeah, but with Doctor Strange, it was him literally looking at possible different outcomes,
right?
Because that's what his character does, being able to, look at different timelines and stuff like that. So I actually don't think that the link was intentional.
Okay,
I think
that's
it was
fair.
I think it's something that you saw because of you knowing both characters,
right? And that's probably true. But the thing that was interesting was the portrayal of it. So even if the link itself wasn't direct, the portrayal of both were very, very similar. So, but it was just
the world may never know.
The world may never know. But he definitely there's a lot to go into with that show. So, I mean, Marty Freeman, like you mentioned, as Watson. I loved how in both Elementary and Sherlock they do show the introduction of the two characters, because I don't feel like you get that a lot in the movies. Especially, like, Watson's just there. Whereas with the shows, and Rico, we've had this conversation about movies versus shows anyway, because you just have more time to flush out characters and storylines and things like that. Mm-hmm. So they have the opportunity to show that introduction. Whereas, like, if you did it in the movie, it would be like Batman, where you're like, oh, Christ, here's another origin story, and we don't need, like, the sixth version of the origin story.
Right, just rehashing the same old stuff with different faces on it, yeah.
Right. So... I mean, because that's something that Rico and I talked about.
Leave alone. That's it.
Leave what?
I said, leave Thomas and Martha Wayne alone, for Christ's sake. Let them stay dead. Stop.
They've been shot 28 ways from Sunday. Like, just let them rest in peace.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go on a Batman spin.
Yeah, no, but you could, because of the detective with him.
Yep, great detective genre.
He's known as the world's greatest detective.
Yes.
There is I don't remember if it was a comic book or just like a kid's book where, and I don't know how they made it happen, I can't remember, but Sherlock does go up against Batman. It does happen in a book. Like, it's not...
I've never heard of that, which is odd, because I love both of those.
There was a Gotham by Gaslight.
Well, Gotham by Gaslight, right, but that's not what I'm talking about. But that's really good, too.
They did it. Yeah,
Rico?
I mean, you would argue that Gotham is not taking on the Sherlock Holmes role.
Yes, you absolutely could make that argument, and I could not argue against it in any way, but I'm saying there was, like, and like I said, it was one of these, like, one-off, like, I think it was a kid's book. Like, it wasn't meant to be, like, a story arc or anything like that. It was just meant to be something, fun for kids to read.
I'm going to look it up.
I'm already on it. There is an app. Have you guys ever heard of the epic rap battles of history on YouTube?
No.
Look those up.
But that sounds awesome.
Look those up. They get these different historians and they get people who can rap and dress up like them and they rap. And apparently there's one of Batman versus Sherlock, which I need to see that now. But anyway,
I feel like I need to see that series in general because.
Oh, you would love it. Yeah,
cool.
It's really kind of funny. It's on YouTube, so make sure you just look it up. But yeah, I can't find it right now. But
there's a 6 comic book. I found an article on Cracked about it.
Okay, well, this was not an arc thing. This was like a one-off, like, kids book. There may have been a comic book arc too, but that's not what I was talking about. Anyway, the point being that
you guys keep talking, I'll look it up.
The point being, though, is that no, actually, Rico, you probably should be in on this. You know more about Batman than I do, but you know he is basically a Holmes type of character.
Yes, he fits the archetype of the great detective for all the reasons that I mentioned before. He's genius, socially awkward, has a set of skills that are a quirk that makes it difficult for him to exist in normal functioning society. However, those same quirks and skills are what makes him excellent, a great detective. For Batman, it happens to be his intelligence, his access to technology, and the fact that he is filthy rich.
Well, damn, I don't think I can put that much better.
I would argue there's one difference because Batman has an alter ego, and Sherlock Holmes doesn't.
Well, yeah.
Well, and that's part of his quirk. I mean, there are a lot of things that Batman has that Sherlock Holmes doesn't, but he fits perfectly into the genre. Like the traits that I'd mentioned, and there are other things also. Having a sidekick / best friend / frenemy, which if you all of the people fall into the Great Detective. What in the world am I hearing? They'll have like somebody who they have that sort of love-hate best friend relationship, frenemy thing with, which like House has Wilson, and for Psych, Sean has Gus. For a Batman, he has you could say Robin. You could also say Commissioner Gordon, depending on how you want to look at it.
Okay, guys, we are gonna take 2 minutes and 50 seconds to just listen, but I think we need to.
All right.
Give me 2.
Is this the rap battle?
Cut that out.
Sherlock Holmes! What's it?
Nice hat, dork. You look like a duck. I had Alfred read your books. He told me they suck. I'll crush your British nuts until they're bangers and mash. I've seen better detective work in Tango and Cash. You jump, I kick punks like you off the streets. While you and Velma here solving Scooby-Doo mysteries. Nothing makes me laugh, but I bet your raps can. So bring it on, bitch. I'm Batman.
I once met a rich fellow who smelled of guano and pain. Holmes, explain. I deduce this douche stain is Bruce Wayne. A billionaire? Yes, his wealth would allow this adversary of ours to afford the toys he needs. Thinks he has no superpowers. You want a battle, Bat? Bring it then. I heard he has a British butler. Good. Then he'll be used to getting served by Englishmen. You're a whack vigilante black panty spud with no skill. My sidekick's a doctor. Because his flows are so ill.
Shut up, nerds. I serve justice, so eat it. My sidekick only comes around
when he's needed. Boy, wonder how your ass got killed. Fight harder than those hounds down in Baskerville. I'll blast you with that bat whack rock repellent. Repeller build a snatch your villain and by dinner be chillin'. Got a secret about your homegirl Irene Adler. Come back to my nest of Ben Parker splatter. I'll shatter that fiddle with a chop of the hand. Holy Conan Doyle, let's get him. Oh, goddamn.
You're not smart. You're selfish. You endanger everyone's life. Why don't you let your boyfriend here go home to his wife? Nobody likes you. Not your brother, not your partner, not Scotland Yard. You'll die alone with no friends except that needle in your arm.
Whoa.
This mustn't register on an emotional level. First, exploit childhood tragedy. Then gesture with pipe. Watson finishes punchline. Next, acknowledge compliment. Conclude with killer catchphrase.
I believe your parents' homicide is why you mask your face. You're shamed and traumatized and haunted by the vast disgrace of watching like a passive waste as Mama died and Daddy was dispatched with haste. Holmes, you cracked the case. You're a batshit crazy basket case. Bloody good rhymes. I've got tons. Dissing these dynamic douchebags was elementary, my dear Watson. Hold on! Holster! You decide! Albert!
Okay, that was the best 2 minutes and 50 seconds of my life. Like,
You know,
down.
I love the fact that he did the Mind Palace technique right there at the end. That was awesome.
That was the best 2 minutes and 50 seconds of my life.
It was a great rap. All the lyrics were spot on, but the fucking Batman voice just like.
I think that was the idea. I think that was the
Right.
idea, to make fun of the Christian Bale thing.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna kill you.
Right. Do you have a throat infection that you didn't have last episode? Because, yeah.
Dude, it was a Cookie Monster. It was a Cookie Monster and Scooby Doo combination. Like,
I'm telling you right now, Arlynn, I'm posting a link to that in the 21 Street regulars.
Yes, please do. That is awesome.
That needs
can you tag both Ann and me in that, please?
I will gladly, because that needs to be shown to the world. Like,
as well as this episode of your podcast, of course.
Well, yeah, but this probably won't be out for a couple weeks, so it'll be a while before that happens. But, well, no, we've just got that many in the can. I've got stuff lined up already, ready to go out. So we're just, He's
got to doctor the shit out of this too.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time.
What? He's got to Holmes the fuck out of this.
Oh.
But I'm bummed. So anyway,
I have a drum set over here. I can do that.
No, we're good. Thank you. So I don't even know where we're going now. What do we?
We need to go back to the movies because we have deviated from the movies a whole lot.
Right.
All right. So Rico, why don't you take us back there?
I brought you guys back Holmes.
All right, so just quick break to point out, CJ, I know you had to have caught this in one of the episodes of Elementary, when Holmes is working with a gang, and one of them says, "Hey, Holmes," and he's like,
"Oh,
are you?"
Yeah, I did.
Like, I can't tell if you're calling by name.
I was thinking that should be the title is Sherlock Holmes, because now we have a homie joining us.
There you go, Sup Holmes.
I actually just like Yo Holmes.
Yeah,
Holmes. I like Sup Holmes actually. Like Sup Holmes.
Yeah, that could work. We'll figure it out. But Rico, why don't you take us back to the movies and we'll talk about RDJ, because I know how much of a fan you are. I think we're all fans, but I think you're the biggest RDJ fan here, or at least out of the two of us. I can't speak for Arlynn.
Of course.
I was a fan of. Obviously I was a fan of RDJ before he became Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes. But I thought when I first heard that he was going to play Sherlock Holmes, I'm like, that is brilliant fucking casting, especially with Guy Ritchie as director and Jude Law as Watson. I'm like, that is going to fucking be amazing. And in my own opinion, as much as I love fucking Benadryl Cucumber's fucking version of,
excuse me, that's Bumper Dink Cabbage Patch.
Sherlock. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Bumper Cabbage Patch.
I think you just killed Rico.
Oh, you just fucking broke my brain.
At least he wasn't holding a cigarette when I said it.
Yeah, right?
Oh my god, that would have been inhaled with a fucking cigarette. That was so, because you did it just on a boom right there. So, oh god, that's gonna fucking haunt my ass.
Every time you see him now, you're gonna be like, dang it.
Okay. So as much as I love fucking Cumberbatch's fucking interpretation, it is amazing. What I don't like is his fucking hair. I don't know why, but his hair annoys the shit out of me.
But you're talking about Sherlock or RDJ?
Cumbersnatch.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Yeah, not a fan of the
Cabbage
hair.
Patch, his hair.
I mean, all respect to fucking Anne who copied it. It looked great on her.
Yeah.
And it pulled it off completely, but it looks fucking awful on fucking Cumberbatch's fucking head. We have destroyed this fucking poor man's like name so much. But for RDJ, because he has the deadpan drawl, he has the air of arrogance and intelligence.
And there it is. Yep.
I don't know if RDJ is actually that intelligent, but he's such a good actor where he can convince us that he seems intelligent. Because whether you're watching him in Chaplin or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or Iron Man or whatever, he conveys a form of intelligence, but primarily arrogance and ego. And the voice helps. If Benedict Cumberbatch did not sound like Benedict Cumberbatch, it would not be nearly as successful.
Agreed. Yeah.
And Johnny Lee Miller came close because he doesn't have the type of timbre that Sherlock Holmes you would think would have.
He has a lighter voice.
It's a lighter voice, but he's a great enough actor where it works.
Right. Well, he has a little bit more of an authentic accent than Robert Downey Jr. would have.
Well, that's because and to be fair, Johnny Lee Miller is actually English, so that's why.
Pretty sure he's Scottish.
Well, okay, maybe, but the point is he's from the island versus RDJ, who's from Los Angeles.
The Big Island, yeah.
Right, But
RDJ from the fucking hills. Oh, it's from New York, actually.
It might be New York, yeah. But at the same time, real quick,
he's
just
to
touch on Elementary, what I really like about it is in previous incarnations of Sherlock Holmes, and even to a degree in Sherlock, it's more refined. He's a more refined upper class thing. And Johnny Lee Miller, he's more, I don't want to say street level. That's not the word I want to use, but he's more
punk.
Yeah.
He has a level of elitism to him, but he does have a little bit more street attitude. He tattoos himself. He's not ashamed to.
I think those are really Johnny's tattoos, honestly, but go ahead.
Well, they've shown him on the episode giving himself tattoos, even.
Right.
But he's yeah. Especially in the beginning, if you notice, it became more refined after the first season.
And a t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, he started to do the button-up shirt after.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm only in the first season.
That's what I was going to say. I did notice that, though, with the first season, was he looked a lot more, I don't want to say down to earth because that's not quite it. Almost more willing to slum it a little bit, I guess, is probably it. But then I don't know if it's character development or if it was a wardrobe change. But you do see him dressed a little bit more refined. He wears the, not really a tie, but he'll wear a collared shirt buttoned to the top button.
With a vest.
With a vest or with a jacket for most of the rest of the series after that. But that might be a character development choice as opposed to a change in wardrobe.
Now, going back to RDJ, for RDJ and the Guy Ritchie adaptation, for me, it was because, like CJ said, a lot of the adaptations were more refined and very polished off. The deer stocking cap, the pipe, that was a lot of Basil Rathbone in the, the 40s, 50s. It was it was more elegant and that was, arguably when people think Sherlock Holmes, they think, pipe, they think the hat, they think the cloak and all that shit. They think elementary, my dear Watson. They think more refined and posh.
And they play with that fact in Sherlock a lot, where they make him wear the hat when he doesn't want to, and that whole thing.
Right. Well, and even just the elitism that goes along with the character. I think a good reason for that, though, is then to show how low he's willing to go to get his high, because he's slumming it. When he goes to the drug houses and such, not just in the TV series, but even in the books themselves, and the fact that he so easily fits in with where we got our group name from, the Baker Street Regulars, would be the Baker Street Irregulars, which were the street rats, the kids living in the street. The kids talking with the Cockney accents, walking around calling everybody governor as they're stealing the wallets out of the back pocket.
The Albert.
It's to see somebody who gives off this impression of this elitist status. His brother is in government and his father is high society, and here the people who he associates with most easily are homeless children who steal people's wallets.
Yeah, I think we just broke Rico.
Sorry, or he's processing.
No, it froze for a second. Yeah, I was just keeping sound.
Okay.
And Bart's passing as well.
Yeah, we gotta love Bart. The unofficial third member of the podcast.
Exactly. Beat me by a second. I was just about to say that. Dino's the mascot, then Bart is the underlying soundtrack.
Yeah. So anyway, but the RDJ movies, the Guy Ritchie movies, of the two, so I just watched Game of Shadows literally before we started recording because I hadn't seen it. I'd seen it before, but it had been a long time, so I needed to refresh my memory on it. And It's not as good as the first one. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not as good, I suppose, as far as like entertainment value, but character development wise, I do think it is, because is Game of Shadows not where he meets Mary, Sherlock meets Mary, and that is the second.
He meets her in
one,
the first one.
Oh,
he meets her
does
in the first
he?
one.
He meets her in the first one, but they're getting married.
She plays a bigger role in the second
okay.
one, but he meets her in the first one. Yeah.
Okay, that's right, where they have the bachelor party.
That's the second one. The bachelor party is the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, you can see, because Anne and I have talked about this before. We both see in Sherlock Holmes features of autism.
Totally.
One of the things, needing things to be a certain way. So for him, he needs that static in his life. One of them is Watson. So to watch him have that character development where he's finding ways to cope with the fact that Watson is not going to be connected to him at the hip anymore, because he's going to be connected at the hip to his wife.
Right.
Which is something that we have yet to experience in Elementary. I don't think we're going to, but was a huge character turning point, both in the books and in Sherlock, and then in the movies as well.
Well, wait a minute. And okay, Rico, I have to spoil some of this, but she brought up a point that I think I can counter, but it's going to ruin some of the newer stuff. And Arlynn, it might even ruin it for you.
I'm going to take the headphones on. You just point back at me when it's time when I can listen.
That's fair. But to be fair, Arlynn, this might ruin it for you too, because you said you're a couple episodes back. But she's looking to adopt a child.
Okay.
And
I do remember her talking about possibly wanting that, and there was some reason that she only had like 2 years left in order for like viability or something like that. I remember that in an earlier
but this
episode.
isn't like in vitro. She's flat out like she. At one point, there's an episode where there's a surrogate. It's not an in vitro thing. Like this woman got pregnant and wants to just give up her child. So to your point, you may get that dynamic. It'll just have a different spin on it. Instead of a husband, it'll be a child.
Which is what Elementary does. Yeah.
Right.
They take the standards and change them.
Exactly. So I think it has a real potential to do that same thing. But you could be right. It may not do it at all, because as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Like it was something she was exploring and then it failed. No, I don't know if she's still exploring it. Because they do that with Elementary. They'll start a story like that, and then they'll leave it alone for like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, and then it'll just kind of come back.
Yeah.
So you just never know. So it may double back, but as of right now, it looks like it may be a finished issue. So, and I was about to bring Rico back, but he just walked away.
I know. I just watched him walk over there.
Which I guess I could bring up something else that I'm glad that... Oh, no, here he comes, because I want him to chime in on this. You can come back, Rico. Hi. So, it's
Sherlock
safe.
dies.
What did you... I didn't hear what you said.
I said Sherlock dies.
Sherlock dies, yeah, no.
Suck my Sherlock!
No, they did enough of that in the Sherlock version. But anyway.
There you go. Is he dead this week? I don't know.
Yeah, right, basically. There is one other thing from Elementary that's in the same realm, but Rico, this doesn't ruin anything because it's not a reference to anything in a specific episode. It's more of just about the dynamic. What they're not going towards, and you'll be happy to hear this, and again, it spoils nothing. It seems like there's going to be no chance of a romantic relationship between Sherlock and Watson. Because Watson being a female, I was fearful that at some point they were going to go down that road of Watson and Holmes becoming a couple, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen now, and I'm really, really happy about that, to be honest with you, because I didn't want that to happen. So
it would be like I said, that pandering to certain target demos would be exactly the only reason to do that, and it would not work with the story.
Exactly, agreed.
Are there still a little bit of subtleties and subtext, like similar to like maybe the X-Files, like a little bit of brewing romance underneath, but they're never going to do it.
No, because in the X-Files they do it. It becomes a couple at some point towards the end of that series.
It is post-series in the second movie.
Sorry. Oh, was it the movie? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Fuck you guys for ruining everything.
Well, you shouldn't be so fucking far behind on a 20-year-old fucking TV show.
No kidding. What are you, freaking spoiler alert?
You just started Sherlock.
Hey, but I banged through it in like 10 days, so I don't even want to hear it.
Watch the second X-Files movie. It was better than the first X-Files.
Oh, definitely.
You want to talk about spoilers? Did you guys know the fucking Titanic hits the goddamn iceberg?
Does it sink?
Are they okay?
Everybody survives, right?
Not Leo. Leo.
So,
Hey, unrelated, and you don't have to. You can edit this out. But my husband just told me today that they're looking at Leo to possibly play the Joker in the new Suicide Squad.
I would take that over Jared Leto.
You know, I can't tell. I think he can do it.
That would mean you have 3 active Jokers at the same time, because Jared Leto's getting his own movie. Joaquin Phoenix has his.
I'm done with Joker. I fucking can't. No!
4 if you consider Gotham.
Well, yeah. Okay, I was talking cinematically, but sure.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them on fucking.
You know what though? I don't know the validity of that. My husband has an obsession with people who are going to play the Joker, so it could have been somebody's backdoor fan site that.
Sure.
But just to mess with your heads. Just,
no, that's fine, and we'll leave that in. There's no need to cut that out. We'll leave it in for a minute. But anyway, because I mean, without getting too far off things, you could argue Joker is Moriarty for Batman. So there you go.
We lost him.
I
was going to say that too.
Rico is just giving up. He is left.
You just threw up in your laundry. Now you have to put the laundry back in the machine. It just. All right,
are you all right? You good there? Rico?
Watch it be like your favorite performance ever.
Yeah, right.
And we'll play this back for you.
No, I don't like Leo DiCaprio.
Well, oh well.
Well, it's not always about you, okay?
It's my fucking life. I will.
Okay,
I will create my own imaginary casts, and you will like it.
For those of you who can't see, Rico just hung himself in an invisible rope.
Right after vomiting in his clean laundry.
Yeah, after vomiting in his clean laundry.
No, I banged my fucking head against the washing machine.
Oh. Yeah, right? There was really no need for that.
Let me just kind of rub your head for you.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Feel better now?
No, what'd you wipe on me?
I was just eating those gummies. Remember?
Oh, stop! No! You just
small little red holes on my forehead. Thank you.
No!
How about
Rico?
this time we've spent together has actually been talking about the topic for your show?
No.
This show is sure fucked.
Because we got into Rico's history, we got into my history, so I want to, or into your history, Arlynn. Let's do mine real quick before we end this thing. My introduction to character.
We're going to talk about Retreat before we leave.
Yes, we'll get that in the end here. My introduction to character was Hound of the Baskervilles. It was a children's series of books. It's still Sherlock, it's still Conan Doyle, but it was put into like an easier to read format, and bigger fonts, and I read that and was captivated by the character, and it took me from there, and I read anything I could get my hands on from that point forward, and then eventually when I started making visual medium, I did that. But what I love about the character and what holds me to Holmes is the solving the puzzle. I think I am nowhere near like the intellectual genius that a Sherlock Holmes would be. I'm not even going to pretend that I am. But that need to have the answers like he does. What's that?
He said you're smart.
Nothing.
No,
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing, dear.
Thanks, honey. But that need to solve the puzzle and why not only solve the puzzle, but how did we get from point A to point B? Mm-hmm. Like that is a thing for me, and that's why I'm in the field I'm in and my job, because of that need, that desire. And the other thing that I find that I do is, so we've talked about on the podcast before, but Arlynn, I don't know if you've known this. I have a disability. I have.
You've shared that with me, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if I had. I have a physical disability, so I can trip on things that people don't generally trip on because they have better balance and whatnot. So I am very, very aware of my surroundings at all times. So that ability Holmes has to notice a whole bunch of things surrounding him is a skill that I feel like I've fine-tuned. Whether it was influenced by the character, I'm not sure. I don't know if that came from that or if it's just something it is something. So I'm not sitting here because I can see the look on Rico's face, and he's waiting for me to say that I think I'm Sherlock Holmes, and I'm not. I'm far from it.
That's okay. Me being a writer and the one who created the archetype of the great detective, I'll say that by your description, yes, you would fit into the archetype of the great detective. You have your quirk that makes it difficult for you to function in normal society, and you have your frenemy right there. Right next to you, the one who's raising his eyebrows at you right now. The little love-hate relationship. So
I'm
Sherlock Holmes, bitch.
No, you're the Watson, yo.
I am, or he is.
He's the Watson, and you're the
totally.
Holmes.
Yeah.
And I could be Moriarty. I could be an evil genius. No, I'll be Irene. I can be Irene Adler. Nah, I'm more Moriarty. Sorry.
To be fair, and this is going to sound worse than I mean it, but you strike me as Mrs. Hudson.
I would say that, and the way that Mrs. Hudson has this dark past that pops up every once in a while, where she's like, I murdered my husband and he helped me cover it up. Like that kind of thing. Yeah. That would be where I look like this sweet old lady, and I do have that compulsive. I just need to feed people when they're at my house. So I can go.
Or
with that.
even the thing where she goes, "You want a cup of tea?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, well, the teapot's over there." That's totally you. Yeah.
That is. Yep.
If we're being honest, Stephanie is the Mrs. Hudson of us.
Oh well, if we're including her in this little quatrain, then sure.
All right, I'm back to Moriarty.
I like to think I'm the bulldog in fucking Sherlock in the movies.
Yeah, but then you're dead half the time, or at least close to death.
Well, I'm kind of dead half the time of my fucking migraines. Yeah, I think I'm like the bulldog.
Well, I guess that's fair.
What's his name? Gladstone?
No, oh shit. No, it might be Gladstone actually. Yeah, now you say it.
Thank you. I'm glad I said it. Now I know I'm right.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The dog that when it's the RDJ movies, the Guy Ritchie movies, and Holmes or Watson walks in and goes, "Holmes, what did you do to the dog this time?" That dog.
Oh,
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, okay. Now I know. Yeah, where he thinks he's taxidermied or whatever. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're talking about. Oh, check out that picture of Rico at Big Paws halfway with smoke coming out of your mouth like a dragon.
Dude, it looked like you took the biggest inhale off a joint and let it roll. It was kind of funny.
Watson knows how to chill.
It's me doing my Smaug impression.
Your Smaug impression. Well, that was Benedict Cumberbatch too, wasn't it? So there you go.
Yep, Bumperdink Cumberbatch, Cabbage Patch gets around. He's got to follow Watson somehow. All right, so let me just pitch Writer Retreat and virtual Writer Retreat here real quick. Then, since we only got a couple minutes.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so for those interested, I'm hosting a Chicago Writer Retreat. Fly into O'Hare August 10th through the 12th. I will be there probably midday Friday. A majority of people will be there Friday night. The hotel we were staying at has a shuttle. It is O'Hare Inn and Suite.
My point was that the details may not be necessary, but yes, explain what you're going to be doing in terms of just the concept of what, maybe not the hotel and all that, but just the retreat itself.
Okay. Well, and we'll do it again in other locations. It's been requested. It is not a conference. I need to clarify. It is not a conference. There's not an itinerary. The main point of Writer Retreat is to write, to go somewhere where we cannot be interrupted, where you are not at your house and you have to write. Or, if you're a podcaster, you come and you spend the entire weekend planning your next podcast. Duh, it counts.
If we were there, we would just record the whole damn weekend. I'd have 4 episodes by the time it was over, if not more.
I bet. Well, and you know what? As far as the virtual conference goes, we're going to have the teleconference set up, which I'm leaving that to anybody who isn't me to figure out. Eric, a.k.a. Gingerman, I think is helping with Erica Rose, if you follow her. And I want to say there's somebody else who's in on that too. But they're going to get it set up and everyone will be connected. And you guys can you'll get a whole bunch of just show fodder. Just watch us live in a creepy sense for 3 straight days and take away what you will. But we're gonna write, and whenever we need some breaks, because we do need those, we're gonna round table and we'll talk about whatever discussions that's related to writing, whether it's formatting a book, coming up with characters, overcoming story block, me droning on and on about character archetypes, including the cycle of the hero, which is great for overcoming writer's block. Yeah. But the main point is to write and to meet the rest of our nerd network.
And this all was born from the circle of friends that are on Twitter, was it not? I mean, like, I vaguely remember it being like someone like making an offhand comment, we should get together and have a retreat. Next thing I knew, there's actual plans and it's coming together, and now here we are.
I'm the resident extrovert of our group. So when people say, let's do a thing, but they don't really mean it because they're all introverted, I'm like, I got you. And then a retreat happens. And that's also where Karaoke Friday came about, was someone's like, oh, singing is fun. Funny you say that. Now every Friday I do a karaoke challenge. So yeah.
Actually, I would argue that it started with you and Rico going back and forth with the little video clips.
I do have to give Rico credit for that, because he direct messaged me a song and he's like, now it's your turn. And I was like, okay, this can be a thing. So really, Rico initiated the idea for the karaoke challenge, and I just took it out of DM and put it on a Twitter verse, and now we have like 20 people. Except I believe there were two people who were missing last week. Oh, that's right, you both. Where's your videos?
Well, yeah. I can't comment on mine, but Rico, feel free to defend yours. I will tell you right now, though, I was going through the thread on this most recent one, and it seemed like we picked up two people who weren't even part of the circle, who just stumbled into the virtual karaoke.
Who I didn't even know. It was awesome.
Yeah. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but he was like, what is this shit? But not in a bad way. It was just like, what the fuck have I stumbled into?
Yes. Yeah, but we did. We got a couple new people this week. But I am just saying that two people who host a podcast about films maybe want to participate in the week where it's songs from TV shows. You know, made it easy for you guys.
Well,
would it help if I did mine now on the air?
Yeah, but then I can't like retweet it under the hashtag.
And it's going to be 3 weeks after the fact.
You can retweet it.
You're going to do it. I see what you're
late.
doing. Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Okay.
What show are you going to do, or is it a theme song?
It's full. Just bear with me. I'm getting the lyrics. Hang on.
Oh no.
I'm not going to do the music because that'll fuck up the whole thing. And we'll probably like end it.
I'm cutting the recording as soon as you finish the song. The episode ends right there. So I will say right now, thank you everybody for listening. We always enjoyed. Arlynn, thank you for coming on. We really loved having you. Really, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself. So
anytime.
Okay, Rico, stage is yours, my friend.
Are you ready, kid? I said, are you ready? Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea, absorbent in yellow and porous as tea? It's something the top of the deck and flopping like a fish. Are you ready? SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Hey everybody, CJ here with a few thank yous and to let you know how you can get in touch with and follow the show and us. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music to listen to, subscribe, rate, and comment on the show, or to the Listen Notes podcast search engine at www.listennotes.com. Go there, type in PodAskew, all one word, and you can stream us right there. If you want to agree with or yell at us directly, follow Rico, me, and the show on Twitter. The show is at PodAskew, Rico is at RantsRico, and I'm at M_Blade. If you need to contact the show for promotional reasons, tweet Stephanie at PodAskewPR. Our special guest, Arlynn Lake, is at Dr. Who, What, Why, How. That's Dr. Who, What, Why, How. And the Sherlock Holmes fan page, Baker Street Regulars, is at 221B Regulars. Arlynn's book, Dysa of the Nothing, A Fantasy Tale, is available at Amazon. That's Dysa, spelled D-Y-S-A. Go to Amazon.com, type in the title in the search bar, and pick up a copy for only $2.99. Check out Rico's YouTube channel, Rico's Rants, on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Rico's Rants. Speaking of YouTube, Batman vs. Sherlock Holmes is courtesy of Epic Rap Battles of History Season 2 on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Epic Rap Battles of History. Thank you to Dubbed in English for our opening theme music, 96 Reasons. They're no longer online, but you can contact me for a copy of the full song or the entire Plan 9 EP. Thank you to Samuel Lemons for our closing music, Theme Askew. You can find his music on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. Finally, our biggest thank you is to you, everyone, for listening. Rico and I truly appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon. Why, it's elementary, my dear Rico.
Damn it!
PodAskew. 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 PodAskew.